This week's Amber Alert is on Haleigh Cummings. Haleigh Cummings disappeared February 9th, 2009. She was 5 years old when she disappeared. She was 3 foot and weighed 39 pounds. She had blonde hair and brown eyes. Haleigh was born August 17th, 2003 to Crystal Sheffield and Ronald Cummings. Haleigh was diagnosed with having Turner syndrome, which is a genetic disorder present in approximately 1 out of every 2,500 live female births. Turner syndrome symptoms may include, but are not limited to, restricted growth of the long bones and ovaries, heart defects and vision problems, multiple birthmarks, and swollen fingers and toes. Most people with Turner syndrome don't grow to be more than 4.5 feet tall. Because of this disorder, Haleigh requires hormone treatments and monthly visits to a cardiologist and an endocrinologist due to her condition. Haleigh lived with her father Ronald, who had custody of her, and her baby brother, and his girlfriend Misty Crossland also lived with them in Satsuma, Florida. On February 9, 2009, Haleigh was at her home in the 200 block of Green Lane in Satsuma, Florida with her dad's girlfriend Misty and her baby brother. At 8 p.m., Haleigh went to bed, and at 10 p.m., Misty states she went to bed in the same room with Haleigh and her brother. Around 3 a.m., Haleigh's father Ronald got home from work. Misty was awake and said she had just woken up, and Haleigh was not in the bed. At this time, they saw the back door was slightly open and the screen door was propped open with a cinder block. They called 911 at 3:37 a.m. to report Haleigh missing. When the police arrived, they found no sign of forced entry to the trailer, but they are uncertain whether the back door was locked. Ronald and Misty have insisted that it was. Haleigh's younger brother told investigators that a man dressed in black had come to their home that night and taken his sister. However, due to his young age, authorities weren't sure how credible his story was. Ronald insisted that Haleigh would never walk out on her own as she is afraid of the dark. The police, family, friends, and many volunteers in the community came to help search to try to find Haleigh. A month after Haleigh went missing, Ronald and Misty got married, though were divorced 6 months later. Misty failed 4 polygraph tests and a voice stress test. Police stated she changed her story many times about what happened that night. Sometime later, Misty and her older brother Tommy accused their cousin, Joe Overstreet, of kidnapping Haleigh. Joe, who's from Tennessee, was in Florida when Haleigh disappeared. He visited the Cummings home on February 9th and left only a few hours before Haleigh vanished. The next day, he returned to Tennessee. Tommy stated that Joe planned to steal a gun from the Cummings residence, and when he couldn't find it, he threatened Misty with a knife and took Haleigh. He says that him and Joe then drove to St. John's River, 5 miles from Haleigh's home, and Joe threw Haleigh in the water. Misty affirmed Tommy's statement, saying she had lied earlier because she was afraid of her cousin Joe. When the police interviewed Joe, Joe denied this, and police have never named him a suspect. However, the authorities did search the river in April of 2010, but the search yielded nothing of interest. In 2010, Misty, Tommy, and Ronald were arrested on unrelated drug trafficking charges. Misty received 25 years in jail and she will be released in 2031. Ronald was sentenced to 15 years and was released in October of 2022. However, just a few months later, on Christmas Day of 2022, Ronald was arrested again. He was charged with a DUI, drug possession, and battery on a law enforcement officer. This case is still ongoing. Haleigh would now be 20 years old. These are age progression photos of what is believed she would have looked like at 8 years old and 12 years old. Haleigh's Amber Alert remains active. If anyone has any information about Haleigh's whereabouts, please call the Putnam County Sheriff's Office at 386-329-0801.